Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back again with more members, notable names in Latin and Hispanic American history. Today, we are looking at it's not Joan Baez, I know that's what you see at the top, but it's what it's supposed to say is Albert Baez, scientist, author, father of Joan Baez. Yeah, this is an article from San Francisco Gate. But Albert Vinicio Baez loved classical music and opera and encouraged his children to enjoy the arts. Little did he know that concerts he took his daughters to when they were young would inspire them to a stardom even greater than his own. Stardom, I'd say, as opposed to what he would contribute to science and the world in general. Baez was a scientist, a physics professor, and a pacifist who refused to use his considerable expertise to advance the nuclear arms race during the Cold War. He is best known as the father for folk singers Joan Baez and the late Mimi Farina, and he was a resident of Green Bay for 25 years and died Tuesday. This is an old article. If it just has him dying Tuesday because he died 2007. So of what the family described as natural causes at a care home in San Mateo County where he'd been living for the past 3 years. He was 94 years of age. He co-invented the X-ray reflection microscope, which had been an indispensable tool for almost 60 years in the study of living cells, and more recently in the study of galaxies. He is known by friends and family as Abel Popsy. He was born in Puebla, Mexico, and his father was a Methodist minister who moved the family north when Albert was 2. He grew up in Brooklyn and flirted with the ministry before turning to math and physics. He met Joan Chandos Bridge, the daughter of an Episcopalian priest, in high school. They later married and became Quakers. Joan would be born in 1941. Albert Baez received a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Drew University in Madison, New Jersey, and a master's degree in physics from Syracuse University. The family then moved to California, where Baez earned a master's degree in math and a doctorate in physics from Stanford University. The invention in 1948 of the X-ray reflection, hiccups and everything, of the X-ray reflection microscope vaulted Mr. Baez into the upper echelon of American physics. When the Cold War arrived in the 50s, he had to choose between a career in education and a lucrative career developing weapons of mass destruction. He was a lifelong pacifist who chose a career in education and humanitarianism. James Kavanagh, a one-time student and longtime friend, said he may have inspired Joan Baez's music career with the purchase of a ukulele. I remember when Joni was about 12 and a very unhappy girl. She was half Mexican, and that was a stigma, and she didn't feel attractive. In her solitude, in her reclusiveness, she played the ukulele. Albert began working for the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization in 1951 and lived in Baghdad in Iraq, where he taught at Baghdad University. He was a director of science teaching for UNESCO in Paris from 1961 to 1967. He opposed the Vietnam War and embraced the 1960s protest movement alongside his daughters. He was very much a pacifist, and his daughters were often jailed for speaking out in opposition to the war. He was quietly very proud of them. Over the years, he served on the faculties of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and University of California, Berkeley, and other universities. He served as president of Vivamos Mejor, an organization founded in 1988 that provides education and community development projects for impoverished villages in Mexico. He endowed the Hispanic Engineer Albert Baez Award, which is given for outstanding technical contribution to humanity. In 1967, he wrote New College Physics, a spiral approach widely considered a leading American physics textbook, and co-authored The Environment in Science and Technology Education, published in 1987, and a memoir, A Year in Baghdad, in 1988. The Albert V. Baez Award for Technical Excellence and Service to Humanity was established in 1995 by the Hispanic Engineer National Achievement Awards Corporation, and Albert Baez was inducted into its Hall of Fame in 1998. He was a very, very gentle, very soft-spoken man who was intense but warm. He was honorable. He led by example, and as a Quaker, he wasn't worried about anybody frying in hell, as so many Christians tend to want to tell people, you're going to go to hell if you keep being this way. In addition to Joan Baez of Woodside, he is survived by his wife Joan Bridge Baez of Woodside, a daughter Pauline Bryan of Carmel Valley, 3 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter. So yeah, now, of course some of them may have died since, because this was almost 20 years ago. Time quit passing so fast. I can still remember 1997, 98, 99, and it's like, it wasn't that long ago. No, it was a long time ago. Anyway, from physics today. Albert Baez, pioneer in X-ray optics and co-developer of the X-ray reflection microscope, died of natural causes on March the 20th, 2007 in Redwood City, California. He was a noted physicist and a passionate humanitarian and educator. I don't want the PDF. Anyway, he was born in Puebla, Mexico on the 15th of November, 1912, and when he was 2, he moved his family to Brooklyn, New York. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Drew University in 1933 and a master's in mathematics from Syracuse in 1935. From 1940 to 1944, he taught at the college on Staten Island, where he became a full professor. And in 1944, he moved to Stanford University, where he taught undergraduate courses in physics and mathematics. And after World War II, decided to switch from mathematics to physics for his PhD. With Paul Kirkpatrick as his research professor, he wrote his thesis, Principles of X-ray Optics and the Development of Single-Stage X-ray Microscope, and received his PhD in 1950. In 1948, he and Kirkpatrick developed the theory of using grazing incidence mirrors to focus X-rays for their focusing geometry. They envisioned 2 such mirrors mounted perpendicular to one another to overcome limitations of conventional optical systems. Unfortunately, developing a usable instrument that was not possible because high-quality mirrors and intense X-rays were not available. However, the focusing geometry named in the research team's honor, the Kirkpatrick-Baez configuration, is now widely used at synchrotron facilities and in some astrophysics experiments to produce high-intensity focused X-ray beams smaller than a size with a wide energy bandpass. It's like I believe that symbol is mu m squared. I don't know what the actual word is for it, if they have a word, but yeah. During a brief stint at the Cornell Aeronautical Laboratory in Buffalo, New York in 1950, he found he was uneasy doing operations research for a classified U.S. Navy project and soon moved to the University of Redlands in California, where he continued his research on X-ray optics, realizing the potential of Fresnel zone plates of high-resolution microscopy and telescope imaging with soft X-rays and extreme UV radiation. In 1952, he outlined the theoretical advantages and method of fabrication, and later in 1962, he published in the Journal of Optical Society of America the paper demonstrating the fabrication of zone plates and the achievement of the diffraction limited resolution in the ultraviolet. Yeah, he clearly was more of a scientist for the good of science because he always felt uneasy. He didn't like doing these things for war. He protested war. He didn't like doing military projects necessarily. So he definitely was one of the good guys. Science on its own is a learning implement, and can be rendered as a tool if you know how to use it to make things. Now, unfortunately, many people who use it to make things want to use it to make things that go bigger boom, bigger evil, bigger destruction. But Baez clearly just like, no, we just want to know more. I don't want more destruction. He was a Quaker and had a passionate interest in science education. And in 1951, he combined the two when he went to Iraq for a year under the auspices of the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, and to help establish the Department of Physics, Chemistry, and Biology at Baghdad University with his wife, Joan. And of course, I don't think that exists anymore since the Iraq War. Biggest bunch of. He co-authored a book, A Year in Baghdad, which recalls the challenges of raising three daughters in a startlingly different environment. In 1956, he returned to Stanford and began working with MIT physics professor Gerald Zacharias, who had formed the Physics Science Study Committee, and it was an effort to reshape the way physics was taught in high schools. In 1958, he moved his family to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and began working at the Smithsonian Astrophysical Laboratory. And of course, Cambridge, Massachusetts is where Massachusetts Institute of Technology is, MIT. So, from 61 to 67, he was the first head of the Division of Science, teaching at UNESCO in Paris, where he helped develop projects in the basic sciences in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Arab states. He made a series of almost 100 films on physics principles for the Encyclopedia Britannica Educational Corporation from 1967 to 74, and wrote an undergraduate physics textbook, The New College Physics, A Spiral Approach. Additionally, he was chairman of the Commission for Teaching of Sciences to the International Council of Scientific Unions and the Commission for Education for the International Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. He liked to tell how surprised he was when he registering for a physics conference in Geneva, Switzerland in 1963. He was asked, "Are you the father of Joan Baez?" His daughter had just had been on the cover of Time magazine, and from then on it was often the first question he was asked, often at physics conferences. A lifelong pacifist, he opposed both nuclear weapons buildup in the 1950s and later the Vietnam War, and worked with many peace and humanitarian programs. After his retirement, he served as president of Vivamos Mejor North America, Let Us Live Better. Yeah. Vivamos is we live. Because I think it's the we form from the word vivir. If you know anything about how Spanish goes, it's vivir is to live, is what it means. And then you have the short, the change the word. Vivo, I live. Vives, you live. Vamos, we live. And now they have male and female forms of verbs. Anyway, I'm getting off track here, but yeah. But vivamos, we live, mejor, better. Which strives to improve the quality of life in Latin America through science-based education and the community development projects. When he gave talks to students, he often mentioned the importance of the three C's: curiosity, creativity, and compassion. His many friends felt that he embodied those qualities, and we miss his stimulating ideas in gentle ways. But yeah, that was a piece from Physics Today. And then, of course, we have Wikipedia to show here. Basic stats: born November 15th, 1912 in Puebla, Mexico. Died March 20th, 2007 in San Mateo County, California. So, yeah. Bachelor of Science from Drew University in 1933. Masters of Science from Syracuse University in 1935. And finally, a PhD from Stanford University in 1950. He's known for being a pacifist, physics education, and X-ray microscopy. Had married to Joan Chandos Bridge and had 3 children, including Joan Baez and Mimi Farina. But yeah, lived to the ripe old age of 94. Father was a Methodist minister, and his mother was a social worker for the YMCA. Father was Alberto Baez and mother Talia Baez. Yeah, they were. This says Albert was 4, but in other sources said he was 2. But they moved to the U.S. when he was young, regardless. First to Texas for a year and then to New York City. There, Albert and his siblings, he had a sister and a brother, were raised in Brooklyn, where his father founded the first Spanish Methodist Church in New York. Like we talked about, he thought about becoming a minister, but he turned to mathematics and physics instead eventually. So He's taught at a number of colleges. Wagner's added to the list. So many, as we've seen just from the other two we read. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. So, integral to the X-ray microscope. Scope. Yeah, during the Cold War in the 50s, his talent was in high demand, but he was a pacifist. So he didn't want to use his knowledge to further weapons of war. Joined faculty at one point of Harvey Mudd College. So, yeah, so many universities and colleges he taught for. Britain's Open University awarded him an honorary degree in 1974. In 1991, he received, alongside Kirkpatrick, the Dennis Gabor Award for pioneer contributions to the development of the X-ray imaging microscopes and X-ray imaging telescopes. And in 95 received the Hispanic Engineer National Achievement Award. They awarded him, I'm trying to get ahead of myself here. They established the Albert Baez Award for technical excellence and service to humanity. Apparently, his nephew was a mathematical physicist himself, John Baez. Oh, yeah. Albert Baez. Interesting, one of these individuals whose knowledge is so far along. And it always feels like those in power want more devastating weapons. And Baez is like, no, I can't contribute to such things. Because he knew what he was doing in the field of X-rays. But anyway, excuse me again. We'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.